let me know in the chat if you can hear me and see me. You should be able to see the title slide, and you should be able to see me in the bottom right of your screen as well. Okay. And one of the things that I want to know is, where is everyone from? Let me know in the chats. Where are you from? What city, country are you from? I'm most curious to see where everyone is coming in from. We have a very international audience. Every time we have where we have people from multiple continents, from multiple states, from multiple places all over the world, and that is really exciting. But also, it just shows you how, we're all seeking very similar things no matter where we are in the world, regardless of backgrounds, types of jobs, and that kind of stuff. So lots of people here. So good to see you, Matt. Good to see you, Ruben. We have Belgium, Iowa, Morocco, Florida. So we have people from all over the place. Obed from used to be from Texas, but now Minnesota. Good to see you, Obed. I remember us meeting a few years ago in person. Zurich, Switzerland, London, England. Yeah, so we have people from all over, right? So I'm going to get started in about 5 seconds here. So welcome, everyone, to today's training on the 12 efficiency systems that will win you back 5 hours a week. So if you're here because you want to have more free time, or you've ever said to yourself, hey, I wish there were more hours in a day, today's training is going to be helping you with that today. You are in the right place if you're seeking more time and more time freedom, okay? Let's get started right away, shall we? So to kick things off, I always like to share some of my favorite resources around this topic. And the first one is an app called Power Automate that is free and developed by Microsoft that you can download for any of you who are Windows users. So go check out Power Automate. It's basically a visual tool that allows you to create workflows and systems to automate stuff on your computer. And it's very simple and powerful. But a lot of people don't know about this. So go check out Power Automate. The next one, if you're a Windows user, you should check out FileJuggler. If you're a Mac user, you should check out this app called Hazel. And both of them do the same thing. They auto-organize files, folders, and documents in the background for you, so everything is always neat and tidy. So think of them as assistants running in the background, doing the hard work and lifting for you. And it's one of my favorite apps, so I highly recommend you check this out. FileJuggler for Windows user and Hazel for Mac users. And then the third one is a keyboard shortcut that I think everyone should know, whether you are a Chrome user or a Safari user, Mac or Windows. If you've ever closed a browser tab and you said to yourself, oh my gosh, I wish I could reopen this browser tab, well, this is the keyboard shortcut you want to use. So if you ever close a browser tab and you want to reopen it, press Shift-Control-T if you're on Windows or Shift-Command-T if you're on Mac, and we'll reopen the old browser tab. And you can actually do this multiple times, and we'll reopen multiple old browser tabs. So one of my favorite keyboard shortcuts, going to be really handy. You can actually try it out now. You'll see that it works right away. So those are some of my favorite things. Feel free to take a screenshot of this, and let's move on with today's training. As you're going to be learning a lot here today, a lot of people have actually already gone through today's training. I've seen great results from it. One of them is Mikael Parson, one of our clients, and he said, I learned workflows that directly saved me 1 hour per week, and it wasn't even difficult. So I want to make sure that you have a similar opportunity here today to free up a ton of time without doing any sort of major drastic changes or something difficult, okay? However, there's one thing that I'm going to be needing from you, and that is implementation, because nothing pains me more than running into you a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and still seeing you overwhelmed with all the stuff that you have to do. I believe that everyone can have more free time in their week and in their lives by implementing some really small things that if you actually follow through and do them, you are going to get great results, okay? So if you're committed to the idea of implementation, let me know in the chat by typing in the word execution or implementation, and that way I know that you're committed to this idea, okay? If you're not committed to this idea, I know your time is valuable. If you're not committed to the idea of just implementing stuff or doing this work, then you probably have a lot better things to do. I know your time is valuable, and I know a lot on your, but I want to make sure that you're committed to this, because you are going to get the results that you're looking for when you actually do this. It's not about giving you more information. You can do that by listening to our podcast. You can listen to all the other audio courses we have, right? You can go through our video courses. You can go through tons of free materials that we have here at Asian Efficiency. So it's not about having more information. It's about doing this stuff, because that's how you are going to be winning back time. I see a lot of people are typing in execution and implementation. Great. Y'all are committed. So let's get started, shall we? A little bit about me, just in case you don't know who I am and you're wondering who this handsome fellow is. My name is Tam Pham. I'm the founder and CEO of Asian Efficiency, where we help people become productive at work and in life. And I started this company back in 2011 to help as many people as possible with their time management, efficiency, and productivity. And over the next 55 minutes that we're together, I want to make the biggest impact on you possible around this topic. And like many of you, I've been very interested in this sort of topic and making sure that we're always living our lives in the best way possible. So I've been giving keynotes all over the world on productivity, efficiency, and time management, and helping people become more productive at work and in life. And I've been featured in many publications like Forbes, Fast Company, and so on. And I also have a #1 podcast on iTunes called The Productivity Show. It's the #1 productivity podcast with over 10 million downloads. And I do this together with my co-host, Brooks Duncan, which is here live in the chat as well. Brooks, if you're here, let us know here in the chats. And also, if you are a Productivity Show listener, let me know in the chat as well. Are there any TPS listeners here? I'm always curious to know if we have any listeners here. We have a show coming out every single Monday with the latest productivity tips and strategies that you can consume in 30 minutes or less. So highly recommend you check it out if you're not a subscriber yet. So I've been doing this stuff since 2011, and you can see a photo of me here with David Allen, the author of Getting Things Done and the founder behind the GTD methodology. And I've been studying this stuff for over a decade. I've tried so many different things. Some of them worked for me, some of them didn't. And people always assume that when they first meet me that I've always been this productive and efficient. But honestly, just like you, I had to learn this stuff. I had to figure out stuff on my own. And so I've been studying a lot of materials over the years, and you can see me. This is a photo of me when I lived in Budapest, Hungary, back in 2009. You can actually, if you look closely, you can see sticky notes on my door to help remind myself of the things that I needed to do before I left my home. And if you look even more closely, you see like there's a lot of stuff all over the place. I was very disorganized and not efficient whatsoever. There's lots of clutter on my kitchen countertops as well. So I haven't been always disorganized and efficient, but through the trial and error and lots of experiments and mistakes that I've made, I am now on the other side, where I'm now in a position where I'm teaching a lot of things that I've learned and teaching the methodologies here that we have created at Asian Efficiency to millions of people all over the world every single year through our podcast, our blog, and some of the live training here today as well. And being on the other side, having all this extra free time now, I can do the things that I particularly enjoy doing, with traveling and spending quality time with friends and family. And I want to give you the same opportunity. However, there is a challenge that we have in front of us here, because like I said, I've been doing this for over a decade now. I've spent thousands of hours running experiments and thousands of dollars figuring out how to be productive. So how do I make the biggest impact possible in the limited time that we have here together? Well, when I sat down and thought about this, that is what this presentation is all about, because I know your time is valuable and I want to make the biggest impact possible. And that is what today's training is all about. Okay. So you are going to be getting the best of the best. And I'm going to show you how to free up an extra 5 hours a week. Okay. I'm going to walk you through and how this is going to be done. Then I'm going to show you how to do this with efficiency systems, as I like to call them. And I'm going to show you how to set up those systems as well. And at the end, we'll wrap it up and we'll have some time for Q&A at the end as well. Okay. So we're going to be doing this in the next 50 minutes together. And if you stick around, there'll be some bonus material that you'll be getting at the end as well. So whether you're brand new to this, or you're intermediate, or you're already pretty advanced, there's going to be something in it for you here today. Okay, so if you're excited about this, let me know in the chat. Let's get started, shall we? Love the fact that people are saying that they're TPS listeners and loving the podcast, and that they're excited for this as well, because I'm really excited about today's material that I'm be presenting here today. Okay, so let's get started. How do we actually win back and free up 5 hours a week? A lot of you are here today because you're curious about this. Maybe you've said to yourself, I wish there were more hours in a day. I wish I had more time so I could do the things that I need to get done, right? And you've probably read a lot of blog posts and listened to a lot of podcast episodes about like 3 ways to have an extra hour a day, or 7 tips to be more efficient with your time, or 5 ways you can do X, Y, and Z to have an extra hour in your week. And I've been doing this stuff for over a decade now. And what I've seen over the years, there's a lot of outdated time management strategies being promoted. And this pains me because obviously we all have good intentions. However, a lot of the stuff that's being put out there is just simply not working anymore today. What worked 10 years ago doesn't work today anymore. And a lot of them are very generic as well. Let me know if this sounds familiar to you. A lot of times you'll read stuff like block off time and focus, prioritize your to-dos, organize yourself, get clarity, and set a timer and just. Does this sound familiar? Can anyone relate to this? Have any of you read any of this stuff where you go, okay, here's the 5 things you have to do, right? Organize yourself, prioritize your to-dos. Then you go, okay, that sounds good, but how do I actually do this? What do I actually do now? Like, I love the idea, but how do I actually do this? And oftentimes, if you're like me, you go, there's something, yes, I like the idea, but how do we actually do this? A lot of times people omit the how parts. They don't tell you how to do something. They just tell you, hey, this is what you should do, right? And this is the outcome that we're looking for. But they never tell you the step-by-step instructions of how to get there. And that's why I started Agent Efficiency in 2011, because I recognized very early on, most people don't talk about this whatsoever. And if you've been following us for a while, you know we're all about actionable stuff. Actual steps that you can take, whether it's listening to a podcast episode, reading one of our blog posts. And today, what I'm about to show you is how you can win back 5 hours using systems. The key to winning back time is following your calendar. It is not by reprioritizing your to-do list or overhauling how you handle tasks or to get clarity on stuff. No, it's by implementing systems and making sure that you fine-tune them, okay? So just to make sure we're on the same page, what is a system? Now, whether you realize it or not, you actually already have systems in your life. But to me, every system has 3 parts, an IPO, and it stands for inputs, process, and outputs, okay? So input simply means what is something that starts or initiates a process or a thing that you're about to take action on. Okay, because every system has to be started at some point, right? Then we have the process. So the process, the actual step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the things you do to get this particular output that you're looking for, which is usually the outcome or something that the system generates. So every system has an inputs, process, and output. So let's start it, the actual steps that we take, and by the end of it, we have something that we can show for, which we call output. So you already have a lot of systems in your life. You just didn't call them that way, or you didn't recognize them as such. We oftentimes think about systems in a business context, but what I'm about to show you is that we have a lot of systems in our personal lives that we're not aware of. And if we are aware of them, we can fine-tune them and free up a lot of time. So let me walk you through an example to really drive this home, okay? So an example of a system that all of us have, whether we realize it or not, is a morning routine. Some of us have a dedicated morning routine, and some of us don't have a morning routine, but we still do something to get ourselves ready in a day, which we call a quote-unquote morning routine. So to give you an example here of a system, or how this is a system, is the inputs of a morning routine is as soon as you wake up, right? As soon as you wake up, you start to do something, which is then the process, and that is the actual steps of your morning routine. So this could be like walking your dog, could be making coffee for yourself. It could be a form of meditation that you do. It could be looking at your goals or looking at your to-do list, getting ready, like getting dressed, and so on. These are all the steps that we're taking every single morning as part of our morning routine. And then by the end of it, we feel ready, or we feel focused, or ideally we feel both. We feel ready and focused, right? Some of us, if you've been following us for a while, recognize that we're big on morning routines because it's one of the most profound, impactful systems that we have in our personal lives. And if we optimize them, we can get to a place where we feel ready, we feel focused, and we're setting ourselves up for a really successful day. And what you also recognize is that all of us have a morning routine in some shape or form. Some of us are more specific in terms of how we do things. We actually have a routine, maybe a checklist somewhere. And some of us don't even really think about this, but we all still do similar things day in and day out, right? But I'm hoping what you're seeing is that if we can focus on being specific and being clear on what we need to do every single morning to get ready, we can be, one, more efficient with our time, but also, two, get better results as we start our day, right? And if you ever implement a morning routine, you've seen the power of being more systematic and being more precise in that sense. So I'm hoping this is starting to make sense here, okay? So let me walk you through another example of the system that all of us do and have, but we don't recognize it at first. But one of them is what we call, quote unquote, checking email, right? All of us check email every single day. When you think about it, it's a system as well. What's the input? Well, it's a notification or maybe your own curiosity of what's in your inbox, right? So maybe it's a notification that you get and you see, oh, hey, someone just emailed me. Let me click on this notification. Or you think, you know what? I wonder what's in my inbox right now. Let me make sure I stay on top of everything. Okay. And then when you initiate that, you start to then, one, kick off the process, and two, your way of dealing with email. And that is essentially the process or the step-by-step thing that you do every single time you check email. And some of you might say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to deal with the notification that I just had and deal with that first. Some of you look at your inbox and go, you know what? And go from top to bottom. Or some of you might say, hey, let me actually scan my inbox and see who I want to get back to first before I move on to the next one. And hopefully by the end of all of this, we have inbox 0, or as some of my friends like to say, inbox 5. They always like to keep a few unread emails. Or for most of us, we feel a sense of relief, right? So this is another way of thinking about systems. And the cool thing is we already have all of them in our lives. We just didn't call them systems. So I'm hoping what you're starting to see is that like a routine or a habit, they're all systems. We just didn't call them that way. And now that you are aware of them, you probably start to recognize that almost everything we do in our lives is a system. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that, one, we have systems in place that we can optimize and be aware of them so that we can fine-tune them to our benefits, right? So to kind of summarize and drive home the takeaway here, you already have systems in your life. You just didn't call them that way previously. And I've dedicated the last decade or so optimizing my systems in my personal life, both at work and in life. And what I've noticed is that when you start optimizing everything that you already do, whether it's a morning routine, checking email, how you deal with stuff at work, that's how we can win back a lot of time and have major opportunities, right? So most of us are really good in wanting the output or the outcome, and we kind of are aware of what our triggers are or things that start the things that we're looking for. However, oftentimes we have inefficient processes, right? So to go back to the morning routine example, a lot of us want to feel ready. A lot of us want to feel like we're clear-headed when we're starting our day. We know what we're looking for. However, our process of getting there is oftentimes very inefficient. And that's when we first introduced a morning routine to our community and to our audience, everyone loved it because even though they already had their own version of a morning routine, this was a more optimized version. And once they started implementing that, they noticed that, one, they had more time in the morning, but also, two, they felt a lot better, okay? So oftentimes we all know what we want, the outputs, we are aware of the inputs, but our process is oftentimes inefficient. So my point with you here today is that we want to start optimizing our processes, or things that we do repetitively every single day, because that's how we're going to be winning back hours and hours every single week. It's not about introducing anything new to our lives or changing major things. It's just optimizing what we already do, but maybe we weren't aware of, okay? And this is the major opportunity here. So I want to check in with you here. Is this making sense? Is this clicking in your head? Can you see this could be working for you? Because one of the things that I've realized is after reading, especially after reading this report by Asana, they created this report called The Anatomy of the Work Index. And this was released in 2021, so a very recent report. And what they did was they were inspecting how people spend time at work, okay? And one of the questions they asked was, what percentage of your work is repetitive, something that you do every single day. And they asked it across different countries all over the world in different regions. And about 40% of the people said that, or 40% of people said that 40% of their work is repetitive. So on a daily basis, 40% of what you do is repetitive. It's really about the work. So it could be stuff like dealing with email, preparing invoices, reports, documents, and legal documentation. It could be transferring data like text, information, images, documents from one place to another, or from one browser tab to another browser tab, or from one screen to another screen. It's transferring data. Locating and organizing your files, folders, and email attachments, something that they do every single day and find themselves repeating the same actions. It could be creating and prepping meeting notes, and then also getting approvals, sign-offs, and confirmation requests on stuff. Can you see how a lot of things you do on a daily basis is very repetitive? Can you see that? Whether it's dealing with email or preparing documents or transferring data or locating files or email attachments, looking at meeting notes, prepping them, getting approvals, right? These are all things we do every single day. A lot of the work we do is actually very repetitive. And further in the study, they showed that 20% of the work is really only dedicated to doing quote unquote the work. Most of the other stuff is actually a waste of time, which is kind of sad when we think about it, right? So to go further, a lot of people have reported that when it comes to locating documents, for example, 49% of them said that they have issues with that, meaning it was very inefficient. They oftentimes have trouble finding documents or getting approvals. 43% of people said that out of, I believe, 17,000 people who were interviewed and researched. And so there's a lot of inefficient processes that we have, right? I'm sure you've seen it where someone shared a document with you, whether it's over email or in the cloud, and you go a few days later, oh, where was this again, right? Has anybody ever been in that situation where you go, hey, where was this document or this thing that you sent me or shared with me? And you go, you end up wasting a lot of time, right? That happens all the time. And we experience this day in and day out. So my main takeaway with you here today is that a lot of things we do are repetitive and a lot of our processes are very inefficient. So to flip that around, what if dealing with email was 10 minutes more efficient? How much more time would you have if you were able to save 10 minutes on dealing with email every single day or every time you check the email? Okay. How about if you were 10 minutes more efficient preparing documents? What if you were 10 minutes more efficient transferring data, whether it's text, information, images from one place to another? Just 10 minutes. What about if you were 10 minutes more efficient locating and organizing your files, folders, and email attachments? How much time would you save every single day? What about if you were 10 minutes more efficient just creating and prepping meeting notes, right? And what if you were 10 minutes more efficient getting approval, sign-offs, and confirmation requests? Now, for some of you, only one of the 6 here is highly relevant to you. And for some of you, all 6 are highly relevant to you. And if you're in a situation where all 6 apply, if you were just 10 minutes more efficient doing all of these things just one time in a day, well, if you add that all up, that's 60 minutes or 1 hour right there that you save in a day. But I know a lot of these things are very repetitive, so you probably do this multiple times in a day. So if you do this multiple times a day, it really starts to add up where you are able to free up 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour a day, if not more. Okay? And I'm underestimating here. Oftentimes when I work with clients, we see that there's huge opportunity to free up 2 to 3 hours a day by just being more efficient at the things they do repetitively. Okay? So to drive this home, what I'm trying to impose or try to communicate to you is to say, hey, let's not make drastic changes to our life. Let's take the other approach. And the other approach, the new approach and the new way of doing things is to say, hey, let's make small, consistent improvements over time. And that's how we're going to be getting great results. And this is an idea that was also inspired by my friend James Clear, who writes over at jamesclear.com and is a New York Times bestselling author. Some of you might have read this book called Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books on habits. And to illustrate the points, this graph shows it perfectly. If you made a 1% improvement every single day for a whole year, you would be almost 38 times better off than where you started. Let that sink in for a moment. If you were 1% better every single day, you are 38 times better off at the end of the year by just making a 1% improvement. Isn't that crazy? So what I'm trying to suggest to you here today is that if we can make all of these tiny improvements in how we do things every single day, that's how we are going to get great results. And related to time management or freeing up time, if we make a 5-minute win here and there, 3 minutes win here and there, 10 minutes here and there, that's how we're going to be adding up to, let's say, an hour a day. And if we do this 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, that's how we can get back an extra 5 hours a week, right? So to illustrate this point even more, let's say you slept an extra 5 minutes every single day, okay? So right now, let's say you sleep about, let's say 5 hours a night. And I suggest to you, hey, let's sleep an extra 5 minutes and add to that every single day. At the beginning, when you sleep an extra 5 minutes, you probably don't notice any difference, right? Your mood, how you feel, probably doesn't make any difference. So if you wake up at 5 a.m. every single day and you wake up at 5:05, you probably won't feel any difference. However, that is like a 1% improvement, right? And the tricky part here is most of us don't notice the 1% difference. However, if we continue to follow through over time, we will start to notice it. Okay, so going back to the sleep example, waking up at 5:05 with those extra 5 minutes doesn't make a big difference. Waking up at 5:10 probably doesn't make a big difference. If we add an extra 5 minutes on the third day, we wake up 5:15, maybe we feel a little bit different, but not really, right? So we don't notice the small wins we're making. However, if you do this for 2 weeks in a row, where you add an extra 5 minutes every single day, guess what? You slept an extra hour after 2 weeks. How would you feel if you had an extra hour of sleep every single day? Would your energy be better? Would your mood be a lot better? Would you feel more focused? Would you procrastinate less? Would you eat less junk food because you feel so good about yourself? Right? So notice how those extra 5 minutes in the beginning don't make that much of a difference. But if we continue to add to it every single day, if we make that 1% improvement, after 2 weeks, we slept an extra hour. And so I'm hoping you're starting to realize how small changes done consistently over time can really add up. And the same way is with figuring out how to solve a puzzle, just to drive this point even further. How do you start and finish a puzzle? Well, as soon as you dump all the pieces on the floor or on the table, if you say to yourself, oh my gosh, like, how do I get this done in, 50 minutes or so? That might be virtually impossible, right? And it can feel really overwhelming if we think about the big picture and we want to get there right away. However, if we just find one piece that we can identify, which is usually a corner piece, and we start there, then anytime what we can do is anytime we walk by the table and we just find one more piece that connects to the corner piece and then leave it there. And then when we go walk by a little bit later and say, hey, you know what? Let me find another piece that connects to the corner piece. Over time, the puzzle gets done. And I've done this a gazillion times where 1,000-piece puzzle time, just one piece at a time. And that's the same way you want to approach how you're going to be winning back 5 hours in a week. It's not about making drastic changes to your life. It's really about making the small, consistent changes over time. Okay? Is this making sense to people here? I'm hoping the point comes across here that we want to make small, consistent improvements over time. Okay. So to give you another example, if you said something nice or expressed gratitude to one person a day, at the end of the year, you've touched 365 people's lives. Imagine how many people it is. Imagine you have over 365 people in your living room right now. Right? I don't know about you, but in my place, I wouldn't even fit 365 people. But that's a lot of people. And it all started off by just saying something nice or saying thank you to one person every single day. Likewise, if you read only 20 pages a day, which is something I think everyone can do, you end up reading the equivalent of 30 books a year. Where if you're in a position to be able to save $10 a day, at the end of the year, you save over $3,650. Okay. However, if we start thinking about, oh my gosh, how do I get an extra $3,650? It could be a little bit overwhelming and it could be a little bit intimidating, right? And then we stop and we don't take action whatsoever. However, if we say, you know what, let's just save $10 a day and start there. That's something I think a lot of people can do. Likewise, running a marathon can be very intimidating. However, if you commit to saying, you know what, I'm going to run 1 mile a day and you're into running, guess what? By the end of the year, you've ran the equivalent of 14 marathons. So 365 miles is the equivalent of about 14 marathons. Isn't that crazy? Like nobody wakes up thinking, you know what, I'm going to be running 14 marathons this year, right? That's crazy. That's intimidating, right? But if we say, hey, you know what, I'm going to be running 1 mile a day, that's easy and feasible, right? Especially if you're into running. So we want to take the same approach with our time. Instead of saying, like, I want to have an extra 10 hours or 15 hours or 5 hours even, let's start with just freeing up 15 minutes a day, okay? And start there. At the end of the year, you already freed up 90 hours a year by just focusing on 15 minutes a day. However, I'm going to be stretching it a little bit to say, hey, you know what? You can actually free up 5 hours a week, okay? And by the end of the month, that's an extra 20 hours. By the end of the year, that's over 240 hours that you can win back, okay? So we want to eliminate those time squanders, as I like to call them. Time squanders are basically things that are very inefficient, that waste your time. And if we can free up those things, that's how we're going to be winning back a lot of time. So here's a simple table that will show you all the possibilities. Okay, so if you have one task that wastes 10 minutes, or a time squander, as I like to call it, by the end of the week, you've wasted 50 minutes. However, if we can optimize it to flip it around, you can also win back 50 minutes. And what's possible with an extra 50 minutes? Well, you could probably read 40 pages of a book if you're a slow reader like me. Okay. Now, if we look at the table and say, hey, let's eliminate 6 of them, or optimize 6 processes, then we can win back an hour. And by the end of the week, we have an extra 5 hours, and we could read a whole book in those 5 hours. So what's possible for you, right? So I'm hoping you start to realize, like, hey, let's not focus on winning back like all these hours and focus on the outcome, which is something we're naturally very good at. Let's focus on the process of getting there and optimizing this, right? So the big takeaway from today is that we want to optimize the systems that allows us to win back time. We're not making drastic changes to our life. We already have systems in our lives. They're already running, whether we realize them or not. We weren't able to label them previously, but now we can. And now we're able to win back at least 5 hours a week. And imagine what you can do with an extra 5 hours a week. You could launch a business. You could study for certification, write a chapter of your book, read and finish a book, spend more quality time with your family, go to bed earlier, leave the office earlier, or focus on more rewarding things. Let me know in the chat, what would you do with an extra 5 hours a week? What's possible for you? If you had an extra 5 hours a week, what would you do? Now, before this, you might have said, oh man, if we had a magic wand and that could happen, that'd be great, because then I could do X, Y, and Z. I hope now I've showed you there's a path of getting there, right? Let's optimize everything you already do, whether it's a morning routine, checking email. There's a lot of things you already do repetitively. Let's optimize those things, because that's how you're going to be getting back those 5 extra hours, right? Most things we do are very inefficient. So it's not about adding more stuff or trying to learn new things. No. That's what a lot of other people say you will have to do, right? Overhaul your life, overhaul your calendar, redo how you manage your task, and so on. That's difficult. However, we can optimize all the things we already do. It's kind of like, if you go to work, usually you take a particular route, right? And it's always the same route. Well, what if I told you there was a different route to getting to work that saved you 5 minutes? Would you take it? Chances are you would, right? We're getting to the same destination. We just go there a little bit differently. It's the same thing here. I'm not trying to change, you going to a different work location. I'm still trying to get you to go to work. I'm just suggesting a different route of getting there that I think is more efficient. Okay. I'm hoping this is making sense here. So people would say, you know what, one extra 5 hours, I would read more, spend more family time, right? There's all these possibilities. And when I worked with clients like Grace, who's a college professor, she said, you know, when I think of all the time I've saved so far, it's close to 2 to 3 hours a week, and I haven't even implemented everything I wanted yet. That's really exciting. And again, small changes added up consistently over time really add up, okay? And that is a big takeaway that I want you to have here today from this first section here. So I want to check in with you. Is this making sense? Do you have any questions? We'll have some time for Q&A at the end, but I want to make sure we start collecting questions as well, so I can address them throughout the presentation and adjust the presentation material as needed, so I can make sure that you really get this. Because if you get this point, everything else that I'm about to show you next will really click and make sense, okay? Who's liking the information so far? Who's loving the content so far? Let me know in the chat, because I want to make sure that you're really getting this. If you can get this, you implement this stuff, I know you are going to be getting great results. Neil says, all clear so far. Great. Awesome. I want to make sure that this is really clicking for you, okay? So let's move to the second section of today's presentation, and that is efficiency systems. So I've talked to you about how we're going to be getting 5 extra hours in a week, right? By implementing systems. And if we can optimize those systems that we already have, we can win back that time. So what is then an efficiency system? Well, to explain that, let me first read you a quote by Sam Carpenter. He's the best-selling author of Work the System, which is one of the most influential books on business systems. And he said, life is composed of systems that are yours to control. And also he said, systems are the invisible threads that hold the fabric of our lives together. So this goes back to what I said earlier. Our life is composed of different systems, and it's up to us to control them and to optimize them. And if we know that we have them, we can optimize them, right? And that's how we're going to be winning back that time. And you've also discovered so far that any sort of repetitive task is essentially a system. It has an input, has a process, and has an output. And if it's something repetitive and oftentimes very inefficient, that's where the opportunity lies. And so what is then an efficiency system? Well, this is something that I've coined, and this is the first time I'm doing this publicly, but we've been doing this in the background for many years now. So an efficiency system is essentially an optimized system designed to free up time. Over the last decade, I've worked with hundreds of clients personally, and we've helped thousands of clients all over the world. And one of the things that we've noticed is that a lot of them do very similar things. And we created a collection of efficiency systems that we call, where they're specifically designed to optimize and free up their time. And we have 12 of them that we recognize that everyone needs, okay? And that I'm about to share with you that I think if you have all 12 in place, that's how you're going to be winning back those times. But to illustrate the point, let me walk you through an example of an inefficient system. This is an example that happened a few years ago. So we were redesigning the Asian efficiency website, and our designer was living in Taiwan at that time. So I was in Los Angeles, and he was in Taiwan. So there was about a 12, 13-hour difference at that time. So there was just no way for us to be on the same time zone at any point, right? If it was 6 a.m. in the morning, it would be 6 o'clock at night. I might still be asleep. He might be just finishing up work and stuff. So we had to communicate online through asynchronous communication, aka email. So this is how we did it. So I would get a link from him, and he would say, hey, here's a design. Let me know what your thoughts are. And just let me know if this sounds familiar. So what I would do is I would take a screenshot of the design, and then I would locate the screenshot somewhere on my computer. Oftentimes, I wouldn't know where it was, and I had to dig through different folders. Like, is it on the desktop, or is it in the documents folder? Is there an images folder somewhere? Like, oftentimes I would have no idea where it was, right? Then I would open up MS Paint, for those who remember what that was, and then open up the screenshot file so I can start drawing numbers on there. So I would draw numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I would save the screenshots on my desktop. So then I would then log into a website. I would upload the image on there because the images were oftentimes too large to send as an email attachment. So I had to upload them online. So I would upload it and then I would wait for it to finish. I would then, as soon as it's done, grab the link, copy it onto my clipboard, and then open up the email app and then paste the link inside the body of the email. And then I would compose a really long email, oftentimes a few pages long, and then fire off the email to the designer. So as I'm explaining this, as you can tell, there's a lot of steps to just giving feedback on a design, right? And a very inefficient process, if I may call it. This took me on average about 20 minutes every single time I did this. So what's a more efficient way of doing this? I thought, and I said to myself. So I started thinking and experimenting, and over time, I figured out a way to make this more efficient, especially after working with a lot of clients who did very similar things. So now the more efficient version of this is, now if I'm in a position where I have to give feedback, what I would do is I would load an app called Snagit. I would record my screen and explain verbally what I want to have changed. I would then open up the email client to compose a really short email saying, hey, go check out this video. And because as I was opening up my email client, Snagit would upload the video in the background. And as soon as it was done uploading, it would let me know through a notification, and the link where the video was would be automatically put onto my clipboard. And so after I was done composing a relatively short email, I would hit Command V or Control V and paste the link, and then off I went. So this whole process went from 20 minutes to less than 5 minutes. In other words, I saved myself 15 minutes. Now you might say to yourself, wow, 15 minutes, that's awesome. But I was doing this multiple times a day, like sometimes 4 or 5, 6 times a day. So I was able to save myself at least an hour a day by just optimizing something I was doing repetitively over and over and over again. Okay. So I was able to win back an hour. And I wouldn't always do this every single day, but I did this on average like 3 or 4 times in a week on different days. So I was able to save myself roughly 3 to 4 hours in a week by just optimizing one process that I was doing consistently. Okay. And this is where the big wins are for you. Remember how I showed you, if you were just 10 minutes more efficient with everything that you were doing? I was basically doing the same thing for all the things that I was doing. And this is what's possible for you as well. So what would happen if you were more efficient in everything you did? How much more free time would you have? I'm hoping this is starting to make sense now, where you can see the possibilities that are available for you when you are more efficient in everything that you do on a regular basis. Now, in the business context, they would call this quote unquote system optimization, right? Here in this sense, we're just trying to optimize your life. You're already doing all this stuff anyway. Let's optimize it, right? Same thing as we first introduced a morning routine to the community, into the industry. You already had some sort of shape or form a morning routine going on. We just suggested a more optimized version of it. And it's no different here. So an example of a client that we worked with, her name was Susan, she said, thanks to these efficiency systems, I was able to clear my backlog of files and keep them organized for 2 weeks now with almost no effort on my part. It's magically being organized in the background. So anytime she had to locate stuff or organize stuff, it was really simple for her and saved her a lot of time. So those are some of the things that are possible for you here as well. Okay. So let me give you a quick exercise here. Think of a task that you do on a regular basis that you find inefficient. Okay. Maybe it's checking email. Maybe it's locating something like a document or an email attachment. Then write down the steps that you take to complete this task. And then what can you do to make it more efficient? Most of us never really spend any time thinking about our repetitive work or the things we do on a regular basis. So we just kind of accept it for what it is, which is oftentimes an inefficient process. Like the first time we do something is oftentimes not the most optimal way of doing something, right? But if we take it on and we just accept it for what it is, and we just move on with our lives, we never realize that we actually have a lot of inefficiencies in the way we do things. So I want you to start thinking about, let's step back for a moment and look at, from a big picture point of view, what are all the things that I do on a regular basis? And how do I actually optimize what I do? We're actually questioning what we're doing already, okay? And if you do this, I will guarantee you will see a lot of opportunity for winning back time and being more efficient. It's just we need to spend some time thinking about this, okay? So this is the exercise that I recommend you do today. You don't have to have an answer now, but I'm curious to hear what's a task that you find inefficient. Let me know in the chats. I'm curious to hear from you. What's the first task that comes to your mind? Something you do on a regular basis. You go, maybe you don't know the answer to it right away, but you have a suspicion that it's very inefficient, or it could be more optimized. Let me know in the chat what that might be for you. So someone said, setting my daily plan or priorities. Great. Love that action, right? It's a great thing to do every single day. What is something that we can do to make that more efficient? Finding past emails and files. Like all of us do that, right? Or my favorite inefficient version of that is finding and locating, cloud files oftentimes, or cloud documents. That's oftentimes more difficult than finding digital files, like a PDF somewhere. So a lot of people are sharing some of the inefficient processes here. So some of them said emailing big groups of people, deleting junk emails that get past filters. Yeah, payroll, right? Payroll is a huge thing that used to take me multiple hours a week, and I was able to get it done in less than 30 minutes. Like, huge lifesaver there. So I feel your pain there. So that is the second section here. So I'm hoping you start to understand what an efficiency system is and what's possible for you, okay? So let's move on to the third section here, and that is all about how do we set up those systems and put them in place? Because it's one thing to say, hey, I know what an efficiency system is. I know what I can do to optimize it, but how do we actually set it up and make sure that it's in place? In other words, what's stopping you from doing this? Because a lot of you already have this information. A lot of you actually already know about some of this stuff already, but don't actually do it. And then I go, what's holding you back? What's stopping you? And what I have found is that people make very similar, or people bring up very similar reasons. So I wonder if this sounds familiar to you. Have you ever said to yourself, you know what? I am not technical whatsoever. I don't know if I can do this. Or maybe you've said, you know what? This sounds like a good idea, but I don't have the time to set this all up. I just don't have the time for it. Right? I don't have the time to figure this out. Or you see something that works for someone else and you go, I don't know if it's worthwhile for me though. I don't know if this is worthwhile investing in or figuring out. Does this sound familiar? Can you relate to any of this? Have any of you set this at one point? Like, I've definitely been guilty of that, right? And so oftentimes the biggest enemy is ourselves. We stand in our own way of all the things we know that are good for us. And so if you can relate to this, you probably said one of these things at one point, and that held you back from implementing the things that you know are good for you, right? So how do we get beyond this? Well, what I've learned, and what you've probably seen over the years as well, is the easier it is to get started, the more likely, one, for us to get started, but also two, the more likely we will follow through. Right. So usually it's that first activation energy that we need to get over that hump, over that first hurdle. That's always the most difficult step, is to go from 0 to 1. That is always the most difficult step. But if we can get from 0 to 1, then it's easy to go from 1 to 2. However, to go from 0 to 1, it usually requires a lot of energy, focus, time, and so on. Right. So what if we made that 0 to 1 step really easy for you? What if we already created all these systems that you don't have to figure out anymore, and we just hand them over to you and said, here are the 12 systems you need to free up time and be more efficient? Well, good news. That's essentially what we did over the last decade, as we've worked with so many clients over the years and helped so many people, where we have done all the research, the testing, experimentation, and worked with hundreds of people, me personally, and then thousands of people all over the world. We've seen it all. We've built it, created, iterated it. We've compiled it down to just 12 efficiency systems that you need to be efficient. And I will guarantee you, if you implement all 12, you will win back at least 5 hours a week. And again, there's a lot of things you could be doing an extra 5 hours, right? So at this point, you might go, "Tan, this sounds great, but what are these 12 systems?" So I'm going to give you the 12 systems that you need, or as I like to call them, the 12 efficiency systems, okay? So what are they? Let me walk you through them one by one so you get an idea what you need and how to implement this stuff, okay? So the first thing is a screenshot and share system. This is actually the system that I showed you earlier, how I was giving feedback to my designer that went from 20 minutes to just doing it in under 5 minutes, right? So this is something that I believe everyone needs, especially now that more of us are working from home or working remotely, and we have to communicate while we're not in the same room. This is something I think everyone needs. The second one is a clipboard system. So remember how all of us deal with transferring data, right, between apps and browser tabs and so on. There's a lot more opportunity for growth there and efficiencies. And this is something that we've developed, what we call the clipboard system, that allows you to quickly transfer data very easily and be efficient there. The third one is mobile automation. What if you were just 10, 15 minutes more efficient using workflows on your mobile phone, whether it's iOS or Android? What would be possible for you then? Well, there's a lot of hidden settings that we have in iOS and Android that a lot of people don't even know of. But if you flip them on and introduce a few systems there and optimize them, you can save yourself a ton of time. So we want to show you how to do that as well. Number 4 is an email system. So an email system is simply how do you manage and address emails in the most efficient way possible. Okay, so this is you doing, quote unquote, the work of managing and addressing emails. And some of you do it from top to bottom. Some of you scan your inbox, but there's a more efficient way of doing it. And we actually created an email system that will show you how to do this. Number 5, everyone needs to know the top 3 keyboard shortcuts of all popular apps that you use, right? So if you use Outlook, for example, do you know the top 3 most used keyboard shortcuts? If you're not aware of them, guess what? You're missing out on a lot of opportunity for winning back time there. Right. So we've created a training video as well, but also a list for you to watch so you can see like, hey, here are the top shortcuts you need for Gmail, for Outlook, for Excel, for Google Sheets, and so on. Imagine if you knew the top shortcuts of Excel, wouldn't you be much more efficient and effective, right? So that's something I think everyone needs as well. Number 6, efficiency systems for Windows and Mac. Well, a lot of people don't know there are hidden systems and features inside of Windows and Mac that you probably don't know about, and they're also hidden. And if you turn them on, you will be much more efficient and effective using Windows and Mac. So if you ever wanted to be more efficient locating files, folders, and documents and stuff, there's a few things you can do to make things more efficient there, plus so many other things. So we want to make sure we optimize the way we use Windows and Mac here. Number 7 is the form filler system. So if you ever filled out a form online, you know that can be very tedious, or if you have to fill in data from one place to another and fill out forms, you know it can be very tedious as well and very slow. There's a more efficient way of going about this where you can literally get it done in less than 2 seconds. And we're going to show you how to do that as well. Number 8 is email automation. So this is not you managing email, but having the email apps and tools run in the background for you and automate a lot of things that they do. So for example, you could say, hey, if my boss emails me, I want to make sure I get a notification. If it's not my boss, everyone else can just go to my inbox. That's one example of email automation that you can set up. You could also say, hey, if I haven't checked out an email in a while, make sure to move it to a different folder. Or you could say, hey, anytime I download an email attachment and it contains the word Asian efficiency, I want to make sure I download the email attachment and put it in Dropbox somewhere. Like you can get really creative with this, and we'll show you how to do that sort of stuff as well. Likewise, everyone needs file automation, being organized with your files, right? Being efficient with locating stuff as well and organizing them, something that we all need. And I think everyone can be much more efficient at. So that's something you would need as well. Number 10, auto-organize your desktop. Is your desktop a mess? Well, there's a way to organize it and have it done for you automatically. Same thing with your downloads folder. We want to make sure that it doesn't become a dumping ground, but something that can be organized and tightly cleaned up, done for you in the background. And lastly, I believe everyone needs folder automation as well. So how nice would it be if you had a folder structure in place that made sense to you and that showed you how to quickly find stuff and it's all neatly, tightly organized, right? And better yet, is done for you automatically as well. So if you have all these 12 in place, I will guarantee you will win back at least 5 hours a week. So I'm curious to hear from you, which one do you want the most or need the most, right? So to give an example of one of the systems, let me walk you through the clipboard system that I mentioned to you earlier, right? Just to illustrate this point. So what a lot of people don't know, so if you're a Windows user, there's actually a hidden setting that a lot of people aren't aware of that you have to turn on to get this feature called clipboard history, okay? So you have to go to Windows, you go to settings, and then there's a section called clipboard, and then you want to flip it on where that says clipboard history. And now anytime you copy stuff onto your clipboard by pressing Control-C, it will then create a history of all the things you've copied. And now anytime you want to paste stuff, you can actually reference the clipboard history by pressing Control or Windows V. By pressing Windows V, you then see the clipboard history that you see on screen. You can see all the things I've copied in the past and now can easily access by using, the keyboard or using your mouse and then paste stuff very quickly. Okay. So this is a setting in Windows that has always been there, but a lot of people don't even know about. And it's something that if you turned on, you would be so much more efficient copying and pasting stuff as you need to, right? So if you're a Mac user, you might go, Tian, this sounds great, but I'm a Mac user. Like, how do I do this on Mac? Unfortunately, it doesn't have a built-in setting like this. And it's not hidden. Trust me, I've looked all over. However, there is a free app that you can download called CopyClip. So it's one word, CopyClip. And it is spelled as CopyClip, CopyClip. That has a very similar feature. Or as someone mentioned in the chat, there's also Alfred as well. Okay, Alfred is something that you can use, or LaunchBar is another version of that as well that you can use. That has a similar feature where you have a clipboard history as well. And I'm telling you, just implementing this stuff, game changer for so many of you. And that's just like a tiny part of the clipboard system. There's actually something a little bit beyond that that make it even more expensive and better for many of you here, such as rich data and so on. But the point is, all of these efficiency systems that I showed you and walked you through earlier have already been developed by us. And we can literally just give them to you, and you have them all in place, and you would just literally have to download them, turn them on, and you're good to go, okay? And that's going to save you a ton of time, like the clipboard system that I just showed you. But this is just a miniature version of it. So we've already done all the hard work and testing for you. We already built it for you. And as Brooks is so excited on screen here, I can tell you, like, this stuff is really good and really powerful, okay? So you don't have to figure this out. You just literally just plug and play, and you're good to go. Brooks, sorry, I had to use this photo of yours. This is just comedic gold, and I think it will illustrate the point that, you know what, everyone wants the stuff and needs the stuff, and you can vouch for it as well, because Brooks has contributed a lot of the material here today. And so if you like Brooks and you like his take on systems and being efficient, you're going to be loving the efficiency systems that we have, because Brooks has created a lot of these here as well and contributed to many of them. So is this making sense to people? Can you see how just having one of the efficiency systems can save you a lot of time? Imagine having all 12 of them. And the good thing is we already created and developed them. You don't have to figure this out. However, if you don't have these, now you know which ones you need. And that, I think, is very powerful in itself. And you can develop your own version of it as well, okay? So how much time do you think you could win back if you had all 12 in place, or even just a few, right? So here's a quick exercise for you here. If you're a Windows user, enable clipboard history right now. Right, I showed you earlier, just go to Windows settings and then go to clipboard and then turn on the switch. If you're a Mac user, get CopyClip or Alfred, and you'll have a very similar feature, okay? So I hope this training has been really powerful for you so far, and a lot of people that we've worked with have found it very powerful, like Michelle, who said, I was able to learn a few search and organization tricks to help me save time finding what I need, right? Especially since she's very interested in genealogy. She deals with a lot of files and attachments and so on. And so she was wasting a lot of time locating stuff. But by implementing some of the efficiency systems that I showed you earlier, she was able to save a ton of time. And same thing with Xavier. He said, with a few things I've learned, I was able to save at least an hour a week. And again, all this stuff is very simple as well. You don't have to be technical like Xavier. You don't have to be technical at all to benefit from this, okay? So I'm hoping you're starting to realize now how all of this is tied together, right? So let's wrap it up and summarize what we went through today. So you've learned that outdated time management strategies are ineffective. What used to work 10 years ago doesn't work today. You learned that the key to free up more time are systems. And almost everything that we do is essentially a system. We just didn't call them that way, but they are. And every system has three parts: an input, process, and output. And we're really good at desiring the outputs, but oftentimes very inefficient in our processes. And this is where the opportunity lies. You also learned that 40% of the work we do every day are very repetitive. And repetitive tasks are a system that can be optimized. And this is, again, the major opportunity, right? What we do on a regular basis can be optimized. And that's where we're going to be winning back a ton of time. And it starts with the small wins. Freeing up 5 minutes on a repetitive task can win you back an hour a week easily. And an efficiency system is designed to free up your time. You now know what an efficiency system is. And there are 12 of them that we've identified that everyone needs that will free up at least 5 hours a week. Okay. So let me check in with you here. Was our time today enjoyable for you? Did you find it valuable? Do you now feel like you understand how to be more efficient? And do you feel more confident what to do now? Do you have more clarity on what to do next? And is it fair to say that implementing some of the strategies you learned here today will give you a significant advantage? So what's next? So there's a couple options here. We're about to start Q&A here, but I want to make sure we end here and wrap things up here with a couple actionable things, okay? Because that's what we're known for here at Agent Efficiency. So at this point, you have two options. One, I would say take action on everything that I shared with you here today, right? So get the recommendations that I gave you, set up some of the systems that I showed you, turn on the clipboard history, do the exercises. And when you do these things, I know you are going to be getting great results, okay? And these are all things that are easy to do and easy to implement, right? And like I said earlier, implement the stuff. Implement, execute, do the stuff, and I know you're going to be getting great results. And another option I want to give you as well is that in order to make it even easier for you, right, to make sure to go from 0 to 1 becomes extremely easy and efficient for you, we've created something in Agent Efficiency that I think will help you quite a bit. So before we get to Q&A, would you be okay if I spend a few minutes going over what we've developed at Agent Efficiency to show you how we can make that more efficient for you? Yep. Great. Thanks. Cool. Okay. So let me show you what we've been working on, and then we'll get to Q&A here. So I think this will be applicable for a lot of you here. So here's what I think is the next logical step for many of you here. So like I mentioned earlier, we've spent over a decade developing all these efficiency systems, and we now put them all in one place in a course called Automation Academy, where you get all the 12 efficiency systems, and we're going to walk you through how to set them up, how to run them, how to put them in place, and also teach you how you can create your own efficiency systems as well, so that you can even develop further what you would like to do and optimize your life at work and in your personal life as well. So we all have them in one place, in one course, and so it's all aggregated, so you don't have to do any more experimentation or figuring out how to do things. You already have an idea of the essential 12 efficiency systems you need, but in this course, we're going to show you step-by-step how to introduce them in your personal life with very little effort. And I know many of you are interested in this, so if you're interested in the course, I'm about to show you how to get access to that as well. However, since you are here live or watching the recording, I want to share with you some extra bonuses that I think are going to help you quite a bit and will make it even more enticing for you to get this. So the first thing is a web automation masterclass. So if you ever wanted to have like online tools or online cloud services, talking to your apps or to other online cloud services, we're going to show you how to do this using tools like Zapier or IFTTT. Okay, so if this is something that resonates with you, you already know what this is in terms of Zapier or IFTTT. You want to have automation running in the background. then we're going to show you how you can set that up and have some of the most efficient systems running in the background in the cloud, where your apps are talking to each other and doing all the heavy lifting for you, okay? And this is not for sale anywhere. It's not available anywhere else other than today. So you're going to get this when you enroll for the Automation Academy today. The second one is another bonus, and that is the Outlook Automation Masterclass. I know many of you use Microsoft Outlook, and so we're going to show you some of additional advanced automation workflows and systems that will make you a Outlook ninja. So if you want to spend even less time in your inbox and be more efficient using Outlook and have it do like crazy advanced stuff in the background, I think you're really going to enjoy this masterclass where we're going to walk you through on how to set it up and do that for you. And then the third one is the recorded implementation calls. So remember the clients that I showed you earlier? We actually had them all on a group coaching call where we walked them through step-by-step how to implement certain efficiency systems, but also created custom efficiency systems as well based on their needs. We walked them through live on how to do it. So you're going to be learning from other people from different industries and similar industries, how they implemented stuff and what they did and some of the efficiency systems they have. So you're going to be learning some additional material that's not inside the course. So that is available as part of the third bonus here today as well. And so if we add this all up, typically we sell a course for $5.99, and Automation Academy is no difference. So if you enroll today, you can go to this link here on screen, asianefficiency.com/AA, or click the button on the screen here. So when you enroll, you get the 12 efficiency systems all laid out for you. You get access to additional training, workbooks, and transcripts as well. And by the end of it, if you have implemented everything, you will win back at least 5 hours a week. And even if you don't implement everything, but only a few, I guarantee you will win back a lot of time. You also discover how you can continue to systemize your task and work less. Plus, when you enroll today, you also get these special bonuses that are only available here today to make life even easier and simpler and more efficient for you. So if we add it all up, it's a little bit over $1,199. However, because you're here and because you're participating in this, I want to give you a very special price today. So for just today, if you enroll, you can go to asianefficiency.com/AA and get it for only $399. And also there's a payment plan option available as well. So we want to make sure we make this really accessible for you. And again, we've done all the heavy lifting, experimentation, figuring out what to do and what you need so you don't have to, okay? So that's all there for just $399, including payment plans. Just go to this URL, asianefficiency.com/AA, or click the link on the screen. So, however, it gets even better. Yes, it gets even better. We have an exclusive bonus here. So remember how I talked about I want you to implement this stuff, right? And people who implement this stuff are going to be getting great results. So I want to reward people for taking action. So if you are one of the first 5 people who enrolls, you will also get access to something we've never done before, never revealed to the public, which is what we call the Automation Library. And this contains extra materials around business workflows we have here at Asian Efficiency. So we're going to walk you through all the systems and workflows we have at Asian Efficiency that we use to run our company. So you're going to get access to that, which we've never publicly revealed ever before. You're also going to get access to my personal systems that I use in my day-to-day life that are not inside the regular course, that are a little bit more advanced. And also you're going to get access to the systems that Brooks uses, the COO of Asian Efficiency and also the co-host of the Productivity Show, that has never been publicly made available until today. So if you're one of the first 5 people, you will get access to all of this as part of the Automation Library when you're enjoying Automation Academy today. So just go to the URL here on screen, asianefficiency.com/AA, and you'll get access to all of these, especially this bonus if you're one of the first 5 people, okay? Now, a lot of people have gone through today's training and have seen great results. So if you do have any questions, we're about to start Q&A here. So fire off your questions. I want to help you as much as possible, okay? I'm here to help you. I'm dedicated to making sure that you're getting the results you're looking for and answering any questions you might have, okay? Because I want to make sure that you implement the stuff and get the results that you're looking for. So a lot of clients have gone through this program and seen great results, and I want to make sure that you become the next success story as well, especially if this is relevant to you, where you want to have more free time, want to be able to do the things that you want to do and work less. Okay, this is what this is all about. And so fire off those questions. I'm here to help you. We're about to start Q&A here. And I want to make sure that we're good to go. One last thing. We do have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So what that means is you can join the course and then try it out. And then for some reason, if you don't like it or it doesn't work for you or you didn't even have time to log in, don't worry. Just let us know. We'll instantly refund you. No questions asked. So I want to give you the opportunity to lock in all these special bonuses that we have here because they're only available here. They're not available anywhere else. You only get them when you enroll right now and today. Otherwise, they'll be gone forever. So you can lock it in and then decide afterwards if this is right for you or not, right? Like it's only really true when you can log in and see what's in there to then evaluate if this is right for you or not, right? It's kind of like if you're buying a home, like, are you just going to buy a home from watching from the outside? No, right? Like when you are purchasing a home, you want to walk inside, you want to check out the rooms, the bedroom, the kitchen, right? You want to check out the backyard, and how things are looking, what the state of affairs are before you decide to make a purchase, right? Same thing with a car. It's not just by the looks of it. You want to test drive it, kind of have an idea of what it feels like before you decide to purchase. Same thing here. Try it out, go in there, check it out, download it, try it out, and then decide if it's right for you or not. And the small chance it's not, just email us at support@asianefficiency.com and we'll instantly refund you. No questions asked. And you can even keep the materials that we have given to you. So that's how confident we are that this is going to help you. Okay. So Brooks, fire off those questions. I'm going to open up here and we'll be good. So we have a couple pre-submitted questions. So one is, I'm not technical at all. Would this course still apply to me? Absolutely. Yeah, we've helped people from all over the world from different backgrounds. Some people are technical, some people are not. Most people that we work with are not technical at all. Like we've made this so it's so easy that my dad, who's not technical at all, who's a blue collar worker, could even implement this stuff and find it beneficial. So you don't have to be technical, a coder, a programmer, or anything like that, not even remotely close. This is designed to be extremely simple and efficient. The second one is this Mac or Windows only? No, it works on tablets, it works on Android, it works on iOS. We're going to show you specific efficiency systems that you can use across different platforms as well. And we'll even specify and highlight how to implement it and run them on these different platforms. So it is available on Mac, Windows, Android, and iOS. Do I need to buy additional tools to make this course work for me? Nope. You don't have to buy anything additional at all. We're actually going to give you all the things you need inside of this course and have, if we do make a recommendation for additional tools, oftentimes they're free, but it's completely optional. You don't necessarily need additional things to make this work for you. Like I showed you earlier, even the clipboard setting in Windows, that's a hidden setting that most people don't even know about. But if you flip that on, you're going to be so much more efficient. And there's so many things like that, okay? Last question here is, how much time does it take to go through the course and the material? Well, as soon as you enroll and log in, you'll be able to get access to the material. You can watch the first video, which is less than 12 minutes, and implement the first efficiency system, and you're good to go. If you want to start diving deeper and create your own efficiency system and so on, the whole course is about an hour and a half, less than 2 hours. And so it's relatively efficient and short and very punctual as well. So the good thing is you can go through it at your own pace. There are no live classes in this. You can go through it at your own pace, at your own demand. So figure out the date and time that works best for you and just go through it, and you're good to go. Again, we have a 60-day money-back guarantee, so join now, try it out, and then see if it's right for you or not, right? Okay, Q&A. Like I said, I want you to implement this material, ladies and gentlemen. One final word before we start answering questions even more is, I'm very passionate about productivity, as you can tell. I want to help you. And I know that you are going to get great results from implementing this stuff. Whether you decide to enroll for the course or not, what matters most to me is that you implement this material, because I know implementing this stuff is going to make a world of difference. And that's why I wanted to put this training together, because I know that is going to be helping so many people. And I'm really grateful and thankful for your support here today, for being here, attending this, watching this, consuming the information here. And then the next step after that is hopefully you implementing the stuff, because I know when you do that, you are going to get great results, right? We give away a lot of free information here at Asian Efficiency because we want to help and inspire so many people. I hope I've done that for you here today. And, I want to continue to help you. So let's answer some of those questions that you might have and be in a place where we have more free time, because that's what we all want here, right? All right. I want to give a special shout out to, let's see, we have Simone, who bought Automation Academy and enrolled. So you're one of the first 5. Congratulations. Also, Cindy as well. Congratulations. You're one of the first 5. So you will get access to Automation Academy. And then A. Brown, you're also one of the first 5. So congratulations. And then, or Arthur Brown, I should say. So congratulations. I'm really excited for all of you. You'll be getting access to Automation Library and the additional bonuses as well. So great work. Questions from Tessa is, what are the costs of software required to implement these systems? So for the efficiency systems, not all of them require additional tools that you have to invest in, right? So for example, with the clipboard system that I showed you, a miniature version of it, it's actually already free. If you're a Windows user, or if you're on Mac, there's a free app for it. But we actually go beyond that, where we expand with additional features that you can use that are already built in. So a lot of the stuff is already built in iOS, Android, Mac, and Windows. Just a lot of people just don't know about them. And then we're going to show you how to set these up as well, step by step. So it doesn't really require additional tools that you have to buy. We will make some recommendations, very few, that might require additional tools if you want to go really beyond. And we'll highlight that as well, that these are advanced and not required. So tools like, for example, Hazel and File Juggler, they are very nice, and we do use them personally and recommend them, but you don't need them for a lot of the things. There's a lot of things you can do without additional purchases, okay? So I want to make sure I make that very clear. You don't have to buy additional material or tools to make all of these systems happen. Some of them will make things a little easier, but it's not required. Someone asked, which of the efficiency systems is your most favorite? Which one is the most favorites? Well, I don't know if I have a favorite, other than, all of these have been developed over the last decade. So every single one of them have been created out of need, and having them created out of need made me very happy in the sense all of them have been very beneficial to me, right? So it's kind of like asking which one of your kids is your favorite kid. I think you equally love all of them, but maybe secretly you love one more than the other, right? And so if I had to say one, probably the email automation is definitely up there, because it just makes managing email so much more efficient. Imagine just open up your email inbox, and because of the email automation that's already set up, you only have to address maybe 10% of the emails that are in there, rather than 100% of your emails, thanks to having some automation in place. Like, that's definitely a huge time saver that I only get reminded of when I go and watch other people manage their email inbox, and I go, wait, you don't have this? Oh yeah, wait, I forgot. I set this up like 10 years ago. So that's my answer to that. Let's see. So this is a great question. What if I work for a company that would not allow extra systems to be uploaded into the company laptop? Great question. There's actually a whole section inside Automation Academy that addresses this specifically, how all of these things that we're showcasing earlier were already built in. So there's a whole section inside the course that will show you like all the built-in features where you don't need third-party tools or third-party apps to make stuff happen. You can just use whatever is already available inside the system that you already use, whether it's Windows, Mac, iOS, or we were very aware of this when we first started developing the course many years ago, or like beta testing this, I should say, many years ago, when we ran into corporate, IT restrictions, and we said, Okay, interesting. And then we start working with more clients to beta test stuff, and we're starting to know it's like, okay, there's a lot of people who are limited at work and their laptops and their computers. How do we get around this? How do we work with that? And so that's how we discovered a lot of the built-in tools and settings and so on. We will demonstrate inside the course. So that way you don't have to, invest or buy additional tools. A lot of the things is already built in. I want to congratulate Julie for enrolling as well. So congratulations, Julie, for being another Productivity Academy user here today. I believe you are the 5th person. So you are also getting the automation library as well. I'm feeling very generous today. So if you decide to enroll right now, even if you're not one of the first 5, I'm also going to give you the automation library as well. So Brooks, let's make sure that happens for everyone that enrolls right after this statement, so that they can get that as well. Because I think it will be such a difference maker for so many people, and it'll also be very interesting for you to see how I do things and how Brooks does things in their day-to-day life, in our day-to-day lives, and there's some funny stuff in there as well that I think you'll find entertaining. So, yeah, let's make that happen. Cool. Any more questions? I'm happy to stick around and be here for you. I want to make sure that you're taken care of, and I want to help you in the best way possible. So let me know if you have any more questions. Again, if you're interested in enrolling, go to asianefficiency.com/AA. There's a payment plan option there as well if you want to break things up a little bit. Also, all the bonus materials are only valid today. So if you enroll right now, you will get all of these, including the automation library that I promised. So if you're one of the first people to enroll right now, you're good to go. All right. I don't see any further questions.